Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Duluth and St. Louis County Days at the Capitol via Zoom, virtually breakfast without food, so meeting. It is really great to see all of you. I have to say, I think, first of all, we can probably all acknowledge that we are a little less tired this morning than we might normally be during Duluth and St. Louis County Days when we have all enjoyed the reception and maybe some festivity after. Big thanks to the Chamber and all of the sponsors. I have been so impressed with this event, and it has actually really energized me, to be honest. I started the year like everyone, hoping and wishing that there would be a different kind of momentum to the year, and it took me a few weeks to get my sea legs under me. And adjust to the reality that the transition into a new norm was going to take a little longer than we all wanted. And this event has really energized me because, first of all, it's great to see people. There aren't actually a lot of places you could be. Usually when you give a speech, you get to say something like, there's so many places you could be, and you chose this. There's not that many places you could be right now, but there are a lot of Zoom meetings you could be on, and you're choosing this time together. So thank you for that. David, the team at the Chamber, Kathleen, Martha, everybody, this is really an extraordinary event that you've pulled off. I know it isn't easy. I'm so proud of the fact that this community continued on with this day. David, nobody tells the story better than you of our first Duluth Days, and which is now expanded into St. Louis County Days, really important. And now we get to talk about the whole region. So the fact that it keeps evolving, I think we're one of the only cities, regions, areas that continues to do this year. So really happy to see everybody. I have my Dolly Parton Cup of Ambition coffee mug ready to go, and I'm eager to hear from everybody. I do know that one of the things that some of us missed yesterday in the legislative lobbying is the opportunity to just have that informal discussion, the ability to really hear a couple of other people in depth, and that's just the reality of what this norm is this year. But the Gatherly event last night was really extraordinary, and so hopefully many of you had a chance to at least check that tool out and check out some of the conversations happening with different people. I made it to as many as I could. Doug was here for part of it because we usually hit that event together. So hopefully, everyone's gotten a little bit of what they need from this. I hope all of you are healthy and well. I hope you are hanging in and either, feel really energized by what we've gone through these last few days together, or at least focused on what we can do in the days ahead. So with that, we have a slate of speakers like usual. The Chamber has lined up a power-packed morning for us. So we're gonna kick it off with Senator Bakk. And the way that this program will go is each speaker will generally introduce the next person. I'll be back to introduce Governor Walz, probably around 9:15 or so. Hope you can stay for the whole thing. Great to see you. And with that, Senator Bakk, you have done really amazing work on behalf of Minnesota for many years. Thank you for your support of Duluth, which is my work, and St. Louis County. We are excited to hear from you this morning. So, Senator Bakk.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks, David, and all of your staff and everybody for joining in this morning. Boy, there's nobody happier to have 2020 behind us than me, I can just tell you. I got so many well wishers from so many people. I just want to thank everybody. But in 2020, I got 3 ambulance rides, and I got a 35-minute ride from Lake Vermilion to the roof of St. Mary's, and eventually the Mayo Clinic. When I sat down with the surgeon down there, and it wasn't a surprise, I had to have some work done on my heart. They've been watching it about 9 years, but they explained the process to me. And he said, well, we pioneered this technology back in the 50s where we can stop your heart and work on it, and then we'll restart it. And I said, well, how long are you going to stop it? He says, about 3 hours. I said, 3 hours? I says, is it going to restart? That surgeon looked at me and he says, and me and Laura, and he said, it always restarts. So anyway, we got a tremendous healthcare infrastructure in Minnesota, and I'm happiest that I had to use it, but boy, you really learn to appreciate what we have. And in Duluth, Essentia is an outstanding facility. They were just great when I when I landed on the roof there in September, and they got me stabilized. So anyway, thanks for all the well wishes. There were a lot of people that are on this call that knew about it and reached out to me. And so everybody knows I'm 100%. I mean, I feel better than I felt for a long time. But 100% of 66 is a little different than 100% of 40 years old, but pretty good. So I am going to start by risking my friendship with David Ross. And I know he's retiring, so maybe if he defriends me, it won't be so important. But so a year ago, when the DFL caucus in the Senate decided they wanted to have a Twin City leader because they thought that better represented the face of the DFL, and on the 1st of February they decided to elect a Twin City leader. So I get a call from David about Duluth Days, which is happening shortly after that, or my office does. So I tell Larissa, well, tell them they should probably have the new minority leader speak. There's no point in me speaking. They might as well have the new leader of the caucus speak. So I got this voicemail from David on my cell phone, and I'm going to betray his confidence. I haven't told him this, but I just have to read it to you because I saved it because I just couldn't help it. Of course, it says, some of you are familiar with this line. He says, hello, Tom. This is your brother in commerce, David Ross from Duluth, calling about our Duluth and St. Louis County Days at the Capitol. I want you to know, Tom, you remain our spiritual leader here for Duluth and St. Louis County at the Capitol. We love you. Want you to stay involved in this event. Hopefully you'll reconsider. Your communication came through Larissa that you suggested we call someone else, or maybe your successor, the new minority leader. We have no interest whatsoever in that. I would love to have you and Laura at our head table, you always have been, and to be our speaker for the Senate. We want you to say a few words if you are in the spirit to do it. I'm hoping you're willing to do that. So we are going to keep you on our breakfast agenda as speaker, unless you let me know otherwise. I'm going to be on a hunger strike at this very moment until I hear from you or Larissa confirming that you have reconsidered to be our speaker. I have no interest in hearing from anyone else. You're our hometown hero, blah, 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 blah. David, thanks for being such a great friend. It was a heartfelt message, and I really appreciate it. And got built so many friendships over the years. So a little bit before we get to this session, I guess I should take just a minute to explain kind of what Senator Tomassoni and I did, because it really impacts the Arrowhead region. We were pretty sure, like most people, that the Senate was going to flip to Democratic control after the November election. That did not happen. So we found ourselves deep in the minority. And the challenge with being in a minority is you really don't have anything to say about anything. You don't get to make any decisions. You oftentimes don't know what's going on. So we got together, sat down with Senator Gazelka, the majority leader in the Senate, and he said, gosh, we'd love to have you work with us. And I said, well, you know, I'm not going to change how I vote on things, but I'm willing to become an independent if there's a path to do that. And anyway, so we did that. So the result of that is we now chair committees. Senator Tomassoni chairs the Higher Ed Committee. I chair the Capital Investment Committee. The caucus has been pretty welcoming. And I should say the picture behind me, the Capitol lawn is not green right now, but that is a picture. My office is right over this shoulder up in the corner up here, looking out over the Capitol lawn. David and I are both officed in the Capitol. So I joke with people when they say, well, geez, how's it going? How's this new independent status going at the Capitol? And I tell them, well, for crying out loud, they gave David and I our own office building. It's the state Capitol. We're the only ones officed here. So it is just those of you that have been here know what a remarkable building it is. So we've got a suite here. We're both in a very large suite that I set up when we remodeled the Capitol. So the picture, when I filed for office, we filed with the Secretary of State over in the state office building. And when I walked out of the state office building, I looked up at the Capitol, and it was one of those moments where I just kind of had to pinch myself that I get to work here. So I decided to take a picture of the Capitol that day back on probably like May 19th. So I decided to use it as my background. A little bit on the session. We got some good news with the February budget forecast. Revenue has improved some. It's not enough to give everybody what they want coming out of this session, but I do think it's enough to give everybody what they need. And I think in an environment like this, coming out of a pandemic, maybe getting what we need is all people should really expect. And maybe people need to park their wants on the curb and let us try to get back to some degree of normal before we move beyond what everybody absolutely needs. So I feel pretty good about where we're at budget-wise. I think there's enough there that we can, barring something unforeseen, and there's some federal money coming through the new stimulus bill, we should be able to put a budget together without new revenue. I don't see a need for that. So that's, I think, good news for Minnesotans and Minnesota businesses. I wouldn't have been as sure about that back in November when we got that forecast, but things look better now. So, you know, you're always at some risk when you say what your #1 priorities for the session are, because you're probably going to offend more people than are going to be happy with you. But I just will tell you, I think this PPP loan forgiveness is critically important to our economic recovery in Minnesota. So I'm the Senate author of that bill. We moved it out of the tax committee this week up to the floor of the Senate. Barring something unforeseen, our plan is to pass that bill next week. Now we need to get the House to act on it yet. They have not, they've not given us any kind of timeline on when they're going to do it. There is some urgency with that, and those of you that are business owners on the call know this. On March 15th, businesses have to file their returns and start paying their taxes. I mean, so what's really important about the timing of this is Minnesota businesses received about $11.3 billion of PPP loans, about 102,000 loans. Most of that is going to be forgiven because businesses did what they were required. They maintained their payroll and their employees over this pandemic, and under the conditions in the loan, most of those loans are going to be forgiven in whole or at least part. So when they took the loans, I think virtually everybody thought they were going to be tax-free because that's what they were told. The federal government was very clear when they passed that PPP program that we're going to throw a lifeline to the business community so our economy doesn't totally collapse. And they did that, and they said, you know, we're not going to tax you on the money. So little did businesses know when they took the loans that the current law in Minnesota requires that they treat those loans like income, and they are subject to Minnesota taxes. So what the bill does is it excludes these PPP loans from taxation. I think it's very, very important because the total tax bill on those loans that Minnesota businesses got, the Department of Revenue tells me, is about $411 million on March 15th. So we're kind of faced with this situation. Do we want Minnesota businesses to pay the Department of Revenue $411 million on March 15th, or do we want those businesses to invest it in our economic recovery? It seems like a pretty easy to answer to me. So I've been pushing pretty hard to get this bill over the finish line, and I'm hoping that we can get the governor's support for it and get the House to move on it. And it really needs to get done in the next week or slightly more. It just doesn't make any sense to me to have businesses park all that money over to the Department of Revenue. It's not going anywhere because it doesn't go anywhere until the legislature appropriates it. So it just parks over to the Department of Revenue only to later in the session, because I do think this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Later in the session, the legislature passes the bill and we send all that money back to the businesses. And we've missed the economic stimulus that can provide from now until when the legislature finally acts. So I'm hopeful we can get that done soon. The other thing that I'm spending some significant time on, and we have quite a bit of one-time money in the state budget forecast this year. So that's very, very hard to park in a budget because you won't have the money once. So you can't put it onto like the K-12 formula or because, it doesn't reoccur in the next biennium. So we're looking for some places to spend one-time money. So I introduced a bill to spend about $120 million one time on expanding broadband across the state. We certainly learned in this pandemic when kids had to distance learn how totally inadequate our infrastructure was for broadband across the state. I talked to my own school superintendent in St. Louis County Rural Schools, and Reggie told me that when they had to go distance learning and kids had to work from home, that 80% of the households in the St. Louis County School District were underserved. 80%. Well, that's just unacceptable. And so fortunately, I think we're going to be able to make some significant headway on that. We've also received some federal money that's going to come in over the next 6 years. So I think when we get 6 years out, our broadband infrastructure across Minnesota is going to look much, much different. It'll be much, much stronger. And that's just critically important. And nothing has kind of shown a light on that more than what our kids have been going through, having to try and learn from home. So that's kind of what the session's going to look like. We got to be done on May 17th. If anybody has any questions, send me an email or give Larissa a call here at my office, and we'll try to follow up and see if we can help you with anything that's on your mind. And finally, and I usually say this first, and I usually get a chance to point down at the front table and thank my wife Laura. You can't do this job without a supportive spouse. There's just no way, and those of you that are elected officials know exactly what I'm talking about. But so when she's my decorator, she's my biggest fan, and she's also my office decorator. So this year when we moved over to the Capitol, I started kind of counting how many offices I've had here in my tenure in office. This is my 10th one. So 10 times she's had to hang pictures on walls and move furniture around. And just can't say thanks enough for all of her support of me and my service in the Senate. And thank you to all of you that have supported me over the decades. And David, I think I read somewhere that you're going to retire this summer. I want to wish you the best in that. And I think I read somewhere, I think it said on your birthday or something like that. So you're really the same age that Laura is, within about a month. But I can tell you, David, there's not a lot of benefits to being 65, but there are some, and I found one here a month ago. Tomorrow I'm getting my second vaccine shot. Well, that would have not happened if I wasn't over 65. So finally found a benefit to that. But David, I want to wish you all the best in your retirement. Thanks for your friendship and all of your support over the years. You've done a great job representing the Duluth Chamber, and I wouldn't want to have to be the person coming in your shoes. It reminds me a little bit about what Chancellor Black ran into when he had to follow Catherine Martin at UMD. That's just not easy, and your successor is going to find the same thing. It's not easy. But anyway, David, you've done a great job over my tenure working with you in the Senate. Just want to, on behalf of everybody in Duluth, want to thank you for that. Duluth's got a very strong, vibrant business community, and much of that is to the credit of the Chamber and all you all work together. So thank you, everybody. And it's now my pleasure to introduce one of our county commissioners, not mine, but he's Senator Tom Bak's commissioner, and he's setting records himself, a second consecutive term as the chair of the board. That hasn't happened in about 100 years or so, I think I read in the newspaper. So Mike, congratulations for that. And my pleasure to introduce County Commissioner Board Chair Mike Jugovich.
Thank you, Senator Bakk. I really appreciate it. It's for your leadership and everything you've done. I'm going to say this about Senator Tom Bakk and Senator Bakk. They haven't changed one bit. There's a different letter behind their names, but they haven't changed one bit. They are who they have been, and they'll continue to be that. So we know we've got friends at the legislature, and we appreciate everything you do. So thank you so much. As far as my second year as the chair, I believe Commissioner Nelson was there when this happened the last time on the county board about 100 years ago, and he could probably confirm, but that's usually my historian for the county board. But I'd like to thank the chamber. We appreciate everything you do. It really is an honor to be here. One more thing. I would like to, I can't see them on the screen. I'm sure we have some fellow county commissioners from St. Louis County. I'm technologically challenged. You know, I like to have my watch and my phone, but, you know, I don't use the computers real well. But to all the county commissioners out there from St. Louis County, I can't see you, but I know some of you are here. So thank you very much. David, you have been a champion, and I really appreciate everything you've done. You've been so welcoming, along with everyone from that Duluth Chamber. We come down, we make the trip for your dinner, and we feel very, very welcome and appreciate everything you've done over the years. You are one in the same. You're an honorary ranger, and that's a big deal for me to say for someone. I know Senator Bakk knows when someone's called an honorary ranger, they're all right. So we appreciate everything you've done along the way. Our legislative partners, can't thank them enough. All the things we've done, bonding requests. I know there's been a couple of sessions that we had special sessions in the last year, and you, at the end of the day, we can't thank you enough for the CARES funding. 6.2 million to small business, 2.8 to community organizations, 1.8 to school districts, and we were able to help every public school and charter school with these funds. So it's, you know, everything we do really has been hitting on all cylinders because the work that's being done by all of our partners. You know, we're able to use these funds to offset costs we incurred. As a result, we're able to keep our property tax levy increase down, which is important for everyone. Everyone gets that. The best way to make people happy, keep their taxes down. So we've been working on that, and I think we've done very well. Commissioner Nelson, as the chair of finance, I told him this is where we need to be. He agreed 110%, and he's worked really hard on this. So thank you to everyone in that. As we look forward to the current session, one of our top priorities is maintaining funding for county aid and state mandated services. We know the state faces budget challenges, but we can't emphasize enough what if this funding cuts, it simply passes the burden on to local units of government if these things happen. So we're counting on you, and we know you're working hard for us. Several requests to specific health and human services. We're asking the legislature to continue with plans started last year to not hold counties financially liable for mistakenly billed federal payments for institutes of mental disease. Governor Walz proposed covering this cost in a supplemental appropriations bill. However, the sudden state budget shortfall prevented this from passing, and St. Louis County was not responsible for this billing error, but yet without the help, we'll be stuck with a bill of $700,000. So that's a big deal for us moving forward. We're asking the state to preserve mental health funding for this region. There's a long background here, but in short, ever since the Moose Lake State Hospital closed in '93, the mental health service previously provided there has been shifted to community-based settings. The legislature at the time passed a special funding to assist counties, you know, filling that need. However, now at a time when regional mental health needs have grown, DHS is considering new adult mental health initiative funding formula. An option under review would remove our region's special funding of $2 million and reduce statewide. This would cost St. Louis County approximately $1.5 million. So that's a big deal for us. As far as priorities on the board itself, we are always looking forward with broadband. I think Senator Bakk hit the nail on the head with the school district, districts that needed broadband and didn't have it. That's an amazing number, 80%. So what we're looking at is trying to do our part to help out. I think it's critical because we're missing out on obviously kids in school, but we're also missing out on businesses and working from home. And when people want to move to a rural area, that's one of the biggest infrastructures that they look for is broadband. Can I run my business? Can I work from home? And can my kids get an education? And if something were to happen as a pandemic, well, it happened. And there's been some real difficult times for kids and learning, and the last thing we want is kids missing out. You know, all of our departments have found new and creative ways to continue offering services through remote means. Again, we're doing everything we can. It's a challenge, but frontline workers, we thank them at the beginning of every county board meeting, and they are truly heroes because all the work they're putting in. And we mean medical. We mean everybody that is a frontline worker and is doing everything they can to make us function. So thank you again. St. Louis County is blessed to have great people on the front lines doing whatever is needed to make sure we continue to function. So when I look around all the challenges, I see some of the reasons for optimism. The port had a really good year. I'm on the Port Authority. Very exciting for me. Deb DeLuca is a rock star. She is just outstanding running the Port Authority. The staff is great. So we're looking forward to more success with that group. So it's something I'm very proud of and look forward to in the future. Line 3 construction is moving right along. And I think that's been really, really a good thing. We've heard bumps along the way, but obviously this is something that's needed. It creates a much needed resource moving through safely, and we're looking forward to that continuing on the path to completion. And then I think it's really important that we touch base on Polymet, because Polymet, I believe, is moving in the right direction, and I think we'll get there. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a drink of this Buell water, the finest water in America, right here in the 7th District, with all the mining area right in the heart of it. Who'd have thunk it? So, thank you. With all the things going on, we can't thank everyone enough for all the hard work they put in, but we're looking forward to 2021. We've got a board that has had some bumps in the road, but we are working together to serve the county the best of our ability, and we'll do that. We'll continue to work hard. Our staff has been outstanding. We want to give them a thanks, because without their hard work, our jobs are so much more difficult. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and I'd like to turn it over to Representative Mary Murphy.
Thank you so much. I can't believe I made it. I just had a bill up at 850 for the City of Rice Lake in Capital Investment Committee. But I'm so pleased to be with all of you today and last night for 40 minutes. I don't know if I got stuck on the elevator or what, but I finally got into a little room with some very friendly people, and I enjoyed that very much. And one thing in this last year that all the legislators, even the ones that grew up with computers, have learned. We've learned that we have to be ready to face any technological problem that could exist, because we're working from home or we're working in the state office building, but we are not at the Capitol. And what a difference that makes. But we are getting our work done, and we are moving forward. Unprecedented is the word of the year that has been most overused in my mind. But always it makes a point. This is unprecedented, and certainly this year has been unprecedented, but we are making it work. COVID was something we never, ever anticipated. And we still are making adjustments on a gradual basis. But it is not time for the governor's powers to be removed. You don't want state representatives making those quick decisions that are absolutely necessary. We have to have a gradual plan for total reopening. But we're so close to the end now, or at least halfway through, I think. And we have to keep making gradual decisions based on science and the national rules that are sent down to us. But we have to live every day as important days, because if we don't, we are wasting time. And we are already 21 years into this new century, almost a quarter of the way through the 21st century. And we have to continue to move forward. And this year at the state legislature, we have the smartest, most diverse group of people that I have ever seen there. And I came in, if you remember, in 1977. And it was totally different then in the amount of, or the numbers of people that were bright and intelligent and working for all the people of Minnesota, just like we are today. But the backgrounds of the people that are there today are unprecedented in the experience that they have. We're all ages, we're all have great strengths. No one is shy, and everyone is working together to move forward to the next levels when we're back at the Capitol, where we can work cooperatively every single day. But working cooperatively with technology is something we never ever thought we were going to be doing so fast either. And I'm at home working because my fingerprint machine, my fingerprint vote works better at home than it does at the state office building. So it's quicker for me to be working from home when I have to vote with my fingerprint. But just think in St. Louis County days and Duluth days, how different that is from when you first came down. Most of the representatives and senators from St. Louis County and Duluth were Sam and Mike and Rob and David and Tom. Those are familiar names. But listen for the names that are there now. Mary and Jennifer and Liz, Jan and Julie. Mr. Chair has turned into Madam Chair. Mr. Speaker has turned into Madam Speaker when Liz Olson is at the podium. Doesn't that sound good? New strengths, new names, new people, but the same voices telling you that Northeastern Minnesota is important, and Northeastern Minnesota has strong leadership and collaborative leadership. And we are ready to march into the rest of this century, making Minnesota, Arrowhead region, as important as it ever has been before in the world. And we are committed to that. Next is Mayor Emily Larson. I don't know if my sheet doesn't say I was supposed to say that.
Listen, you know what, Representative? I was giving you all the space you wanted this morning. So there ain't no way I am stepping on your toes till you say I am now done. This is, I love seeing you this morning, Representative Murphy. Thank you so much. Your words are really important. They're very appropriate for the era that we're in, and I just really appreciate that your tenure of service has covered a really significant arc in our region, for the city, for your neighborhood in Hermantown, and your consistency, your honesty, your candor. I love all of it. You know I do. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
I'll
it
mute.
is my. Oh, you're gonna mute. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
You can unmute yourself anytime, Mary, because that's how we roll for you. So I believe we now have Governor Walz on the line. Is that correct? I'd heard from Kathleen. I think Patrick Tanis is on, which is Governor's right-hand person. And so I'm going to just wait to make sure, Kathleen, that is the case. The other thing that I want to do, however, I do know that Representative Liz Olson is also listening, paying attention, tracking everything. And Liz, I don't know if you have anything that you would want to add briefly here at this point.
Mayor Larson,
from the
Governor is not quite ready. So Liz, if you did want to jump on and say anything, you certainly can.
And we didn't prep Liz for this, so I don't, maybe Liz stepped away for a second too. But Representative Olson, in your new leadership role, is there anything you'd like to share with the group today?
Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. I was actually eating my breakfast, so I was doing the thing we normally do. But happy to turn my video on and be here with all of you. And I was going to actually do this later, but now seems like a really great time to do it, being we have a little break. So I want to acknowledge something that people have said this multiple times. This is David Ross's last time here with all of us for this breakfast, for leading the chamber through the Duluth-St. Louis County days. And so I see we have the governor on here, but I'm going to briefly just share that we wanted to recognize you, David, for being such a fantastic leader and voice for our region. And I have a proclamation, a House resolution we had drafted. And in the virtual world, I'm going to show it to you, and it's coming your way this week. But I want to just read it to you, David, because this was shaped by voices throughout Northeast Minnesota. So I'm going to just take a minute to do that and say, this is a House resolution commending David Ross for his many years of dedicated service to the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce. Whereas those who took up leadership positions within their communities perform a valuable service deserving of recognition. Whereas David Ross has served as the president and CEO of the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce since 1997, where he led the revitalization of the chamber, resulting in the strongest financial and membership services performance in the chamber's 150-year history. David is retiring after more than 2 decades in his role. And whereas David Ross is proud of his humble roots as the son of a union bricklayer, a remarkably strong woman who raised a large family despite relative austerity. He is well known for his thoughtful and genuine introductions of colleagues, peers, and friends. David's gift for appreciating those around him has made him a beloved member of the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce. And whereas David's dedication and expertise has created a chamber that acts as a thriving resource for businesses in Duluth, where he frequently refers to the members and community leaders as his brothers and sisters in commerce. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration of the House of Representatives of the state of Minnesota that it commends David Ross for his many years of dedication and commitment to the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce, and extends warm wishes on his well-earned retirement. And it's signed by Melissa Hortman, the Speaker of the House, Ryan Winkler, the Chair of the Rules and Legislative Administration, and I have the great fortune of being David Ross's state representative, so I also got to sign the certificate. So David, thank you for all of your leadership, your friendship with many of us in guiding us through these successful Duluth and St. Louis County days that have become an institution for many of us. So congratulations, David, and thank you for your service.
This is a wonderful surprise. Thank you so much. I do truly appreciate it. And Liz, the fact that you are the one sharing it with me and presenting it to me means so very much. I enjoy you. so much and have enjoyed working with you, and you're a rising star within this political galaxy, and you represent us in Duluth and in particular my district so very well that I am honored. It means all the more that it is coming from you, and thank you. This, what an honor to be recognized for something I've enjoyed so much over the years, standing with, as you say, my brothers and sisters in commerce and from throughout the community. And then to be recognized for it is doubly great. Serving as our chamber for the president for the past 24 years is the second best thing to ever happen to me in my life. The very best thing is when I convinced the very intelligent and beautiful Katie Hughes to marry me and become Katie Ross. That is a highlight, and this is a very close second, but I'm a lucky individual to have both of those occurrences. And in particular, for those of you that know Katie, you know of what I am speaking to. What a treasure and how fortunate I am. Governor, too, thank you for being in on this. I am so pleased to have you listen in on this. And I know that our outstanding Mayor, Emily Larson, is going to introduce you, but thank you for joining us. You've been so gracious, so available to the Chamber and to Duluth and to St. Louis County. And I was looking up last night, knowing you were going to be a part of this, just looking to make sure I speak with absolute clarity and certainty when I say this. But you won St. Louis County in 2018, no, Duluth, Minnesota, with 69% of the vote. So you're with your people here. You gathered with us. We are the people that supported you and continue to. Thank you for your leadership throughout this brutal couple of years, in particular this last year. And I, as a chamber and our board, routinely say to each other when we gather, and how glad we are that you were elected and the strength that you're bringing to the position. And we know you're looking out for all of us in St. Louis County. So Liz Olson, thank you so much, Emily, as well. And I'll stop now and let you get to the main event here, Emily, which is—
Well, I mean, really, how do you follow up that? And then how do you introduce the next? So I think my job is just to stay in my very narrow lane and to acknowledge what an awesome moment that just was. And this is the beautiful part of Duluth St. Louis County Days. It's just the best part of coalescing around shared visions and goals that maybe, you know, we all get to have a diversity of opinions and we still get to share so much, and the relationships that are built and the good work that happens. So, you know, there is no other need to bookmark anything except to say what a great moment that was. And I know another great moment just ahead of us. So thank you, Governor Walz, for joining us. Your steadfast work is so important to the state of Minnesota. I want to, in particular, thank you for having incredible staff that I know you are really thoughtful about making sure that you have staff representing, you know, all corners of the state, all identities in our state. It makes a difference, and they are incredible to work with. So we hope you are well and healthy. Also, by the way, you are living through a pandemic while leading through a pandemic, and that's not easy. We're so happy to have you here. Glad you could see us celebrate David, and now we're ready to hear from you. So thanks for being here. We're eager to hear from you this morning, Governor.
Well, thank you, Mayor Larson. It's great to see you this morning. Thanks for having me. And I am well. Thank you for asking. I'll have to say one of the highlights during this pandemic, I spent 2 nights out of St. Paul, one at Camp Ripley with our soldiers and the other in Duluth with my daughter. And we went running along the waterfront. We went hiking, and we shopped and ate in what I consider one of the great cities in this country. And your leadership has been apparent. And I want to echo too, congratulations to David. I think as far as an ambassador, the two of you and David's as an ambassador for the city of Duluth, a visionary and effective leader. But I think what comes to mind, those who know David, is just compassionate and decent. And that kind of reflects the people of Duluth. If you want to be known by something, you're known by your people who stand in front. And the two of you and the chamber folks who are on here, I can't tell you what an honor it is to be able to to say I'm the governor of a state that has cities like Duluth in it. So thank you. And I know for all of you, it was it's just a cliche now. This year has been like no other, and it has been a challenge. But I'm proud that the Minnesota values of taking care of neighbors, of standing up and doing the right thing, and always looking towards the future. It has been an incredible challenge. I'm proud now that, as you've seen, we're vaccinating folks as fast as any state in the country, and that's because of the partnerships, public and private. The DEC has stepped up and provided us opportunities for that, and our healthcare systems, our pharmacies, our community health clinics, our state have done those types of things. And also yesterday, something that I think reflects the values of the folks on this call and the people of Minnesota, the Save the Children Fund had done a study on the impact of children during the pandemic on their mental and physical well-being. And they ranked the 50 states, and Minnesota was first in protecting our children, of standing with them. And when I say Minnesota, that's all of you. That's the things that were done. It's been impossible. And as a teacher, I'm trying to get through 8th grade English with my 8th grader, and it's hard. And it's hard on him. And to see him now back in school, as far as 82% of our students are back. And during this whole time, we've protected our neighbors. So I want to say thank you. I also want to say, acknowledge the economic pain that has been thrust on, especially small businesses, has been, again, the data shows this. We don't have peers alive today that know what you've been through. It was the Great Depression. It's the last time we've seen this type of unemployment and this type of impact. And it's fell disproportionately on a lot of those things that make our cities great, those Main Street businesses, those Canal Park businesses, those mom and pop stores. It's not a cliche, that's true. And I'm proud that the state and the state legislators, and again, I want to acknowledge you have one of the most effective delegations, if not the most effective in the entire state, advocating for people, being leaders across the board, and then delivering. And again, when they deliver for Duluth, whether it's projects in bonding or whether it's the changes that need to be made as we think about environmental changes, they're delivering. And when they deliver for Duluth, they deliver for all of Minnesota. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful as we think about this where we go forward. I'm hopeful that we can take this legislative session and make a difference. As many of you know, I write my budget in December when we had a $1.6 billion deficit. And that flipped around to about a $1.5 billion surplus. And I just want to be very clear. That's because of you. That's because of chamber members. That's because of folks who understood this is not necessarily about capacity limits in businesses. This is about consumer confidence in businesses. This is about getting people safely back into locations. And it's about understanding, and I want to be very clear, the federal government and the state government's responsibility. When we ask small businesses to close in the name of public health for their neighbors, there should be an expectation to help with those. That's not a handout. That's not anything other than good public health policy that protects our economics. So I hope as we go now, we're serious into the legislative session. My goals have been very clear. Let's make sure we come out of COVID and make it right for those who got hit the hardest. Our children in schools, our small businesses, and those families, especially those in the hospitality and entertainment industry that were hurt during this. And then let's look towards the future. We know now, let's quit talking about border-to-border broadband and just finish it. Those are things that make a difference for business. They make a difference for families. Let's invest in making sure that diversity in our education system ensures that every child gets a quality education, and we attract teachers of color to that profession. And let's start thinking about what a clean energy future looks like and get rid of the either ors on this. Let's be leaders in this. Let's make the difference. Let's do the transition and do it right. And so I'm hopeful. I think there's ways that we start thinking about these things together. We have got an opportunity with a federal stimulus package, and I'll have to tell you, we're tracking this closely. We have every day in contact with our federal delegation. I'm a little bit nervous after the last day or so because I think one of the most effective things they can do is the local, state, and county aid that they're going to give. That's where this needs to go. We don't need to curtail that. I am proud that, again, we were in the top 3 states that when the CARES Act dollars came to Minnesota, we moved it to the counties and the cities because they can help make a difference with all of the folks that are on this call. We believe that same thing is there, that we can do this. And we can start thinking about what a post-COVID world looks like, from job training to assistance that we give. but the closer that money gets, I trust Mayor Larson and her team. I trust our county commissioners to make those decisions where we work together. And then the state can handle the things the state needs to do, whether it's the Department of Health or whether it's keeping Plowy McPlowface on the road with our MnDOT snow plows. Those are things that we can agree upon. And I have to tell you, coming out of a pandemic near the bottom in deaths per 100,000, near the bottom in infection rates, near the top in vaccine rates, we are at the top in protecting our children, and our state finances are probably in the top 5. That is a testament to local leadership. It's a testament to the business community that's on here. And I think now, just to tell you, the J&J vaccines landed in Duluth yesterday. I was down at Fairview with them. We're going to hit 70% of our seniors vaccinated way before the end of the month. We're going to move into other critical sectors and get them done. And we are on a call this morning talking about this. We're going to be watching the Twins play. We're going to be gathering along Canal Park. We're going to be eating ice cream at the shops that are there. These things are going to happen. We just need a little bit more to push through this. We just need a little bit more of some masking, some social distancing. But the end is near. And I can tell you, I for one, I hope the hotel folks are on this call. Your room should be full for the next 3 years because everybody wants to come. Everybody wants to enjoy what you have. Everybody wants to come and spend the money that's being pent up. And when the economy starts roaring back, we want Duluth to be a part of that. So thank you all for having me. Thanks for the leadership you're showing. And David, I appreciate you mentioning that 69% because after this year, my kids barely like me. So I hope there's at least a restaurant up there that will have me, but I'm grateful. You guys have a good virtual day on the Hill, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Governor. What a terrific opportunity to hear from you and get the latest from you, and you honor us by being with us today. There are so many things pulling at you, and your schedule is so demanding that you would make your time available to us is a real treat, so thank you. And if you need to press on, we understand that completely. Well, the mayor, you certainly delivered as you always do to bring your friend and our friend here, Governor Walz, to this gathering. He adds so much to this, and Mary Murphy as well, and Liz Olson. What a treat to have them, and Tom Bakk. Just a terrific group of individuals that are representing us. We're so very fortunate. This is, as you know, our 24th gathering of Duluth and St. Louis County at the Capitol. And I can see on my screen, some of you can as well. I saw we had up to 152 of us with us this morning. And to be a part of this in this kind of venue with all of these challenges, to have 152 of us gather is really a testament to this initiative and to the love that we have in advocating for Duluth and for St. Louis County. So back in March of 1997, a group of Duluth leaders came together for the first time. They thought it would be a good idea to go down to the Capitol because legislators could no longer come up to Duluth and be given a bunch of perks and given tickets to Spirit Mountain and all of those things. That had to end. So the idea is that somehow if we're going to connect with our elected officials, it's going to have to be down at the Capitol. And so they began Duluth Days, and it was a well-intentioned group. They called their trip just at that time Duluth Days, and they were well-meaning, sincere individuals. They were highly motivated to do well, but unfortunately, they were also loosely organized and underfunded and disconnected. So they went down to the Capitol and they were really strangers in a strange land and kind of fumbled around and did the best they could. And yet their visit went largely unnoticed. There's no record of it. No one hardly remembers it. Few will even admit to being a part of it, of those original 12. And they returned to Duluth after being down there 2 days, disheartened, empty-handed, and hungover. A couple of them even, I think, had tattoos, as the story as it goes. But from these humble beginnings, was the start of what is now the largest community gathering at the Capitol. Prior to the pandemic, it was very common to have 500, 600 people at our legislative reception. Many of you have been there, and we would fill the room for breakfast, 300, which is the capacity for our legislative breakfast, which is what we're doing virtually here today. But it is the longest running uninterrupted community gathering at the Capitol. Now, since we have started in '97, the mayor knows this, Mary Murphy, others do, there have been other shameless attempts to replicate Duluth and St. Louis County. Bemidji days, St. Cloud days, Rochester days. And nowhere near the organization, nowhere near the number of participation, but I applaud them for their efforts. They're doing the best they can for those communities, for those locales. But as soon as the pandemic hit, they folded tent. They quit. They gave it up. They said it's just too hard to think about keeping these things going during this pandemic. And so they said, we'll pick this up after the pandemic, which is fine for us because we are the one remaining community that said, oh no, we're not giving up 23 years. We're not giving up 24 years of having this happen. So with your help, the 152 of you, and with our representatives who are here with us now, we made this thing work and we kept it going and onward to next year, which will be our 25th gathering. And I am confident it will go well because so many of you will remain involved in it. Kathleen Prevette, who has been leading this initiative for the Chamber the last 9 years, she remains. She's the one, along with Chris Johnson, our Director of Communications and Marketing, said, let's reformat this. Let's make sure we do it. They're the ones who figured out the Gatherly technology, which allowed us to have our reception yesterday evening, and it all went wonderfully well. So thank you to my talented colleagues and to all of you. So while I will not be there with you, I sound a little bit like Martin Luther King. I may not make it with you, but you will get there. You'll move forward into your 25th and 26th and beyond because it's such a noble effort. And it makes so much sense for us to continue doing this as we have in the past. So this concludes our program for this morning. Thank you so very much for joining us. Press on for the glory of Duluth and for St. Louis County. And I know you will do well going forward. It's been an honor. This ends our program. Have a great rest of the day. For those of you who are involved in this from your home in Duluth or your workplace, how fortunate you are to get out and enjoy the rest of the day in our beautiful Zenith City. Farewell to all of you. Have a great day.